Let me tell you about this guy.
I'll tell you about this fucker right here.
Yeah. So what are we talking about?
We're talking about your taxes.
Taxes and the Electoral college.
Yep. They go together. The Electoral college is the one that does your taxes, right?
No.
Oh.
Not so much as you think.
Oh. The IRS is the one that votes, and the Electoral college is the one that does your taxes, right? They're a college of some kind? How do I go to that university?
It's a very elite university, the Electoral College. It's really, at this point, it's all about nepotism. So if you're not born into it, you're not going to get in.
Oh, okay. So no chances for me, huh?
No. If you marry into it, then your kids could go.
Got it. Okay. Good to know. So your taxes.
Yeah.
Do you do them?
I did my taxes. And
Do you always do them every year?
I do. Whether
Good
I want to or
upstanding
not.
citizen.
Well, it comes back to bite you in the ass if you don't.
Yeah. So I've heard.
Like, there's people out there that didn't pay their taxes. Wesley Snipes, and went to jail for it for a little while.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. It's like, it's a free country, but if you don't give them money, men with guns will come to your house. Which is why they don't want you to have guns, because then there's an altercation.
Well, it's free as long as you don't work or buy anything or own a home.
Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because, like, we talk about taxes and people kind of think of like income taxes as a general, but we get a job to make money, and we're taxed for the liberty to make money.
Yep.
We're taxed on that.
Yep.
Right?
Taxed on the freedom to make money.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I went to work, and because I got to work, they get money.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Then if I want to buy something, they also get money.
Yeah. So to get to work, you had to buy a car.
Yeah.
And because you bought a car to get to work, you have to give them money.
Yeah. And then there's an annual tax on the car. They call it, tags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. State tax.
Yeah. It's not a tax, it's a fee.
Right.
And they call it a fee so they get to put a tax on the fee.
Right.
Right? So now you're being feed and taxed on the fee.
Yeah. And then to put gas in said car, you have to pay
the gas tax.
Right.
And a gas tax is different than a sales tax.
Right.
Because you can have a gas tax and a sales tax on gas.
Uh-huh.
And then you get to buy your groceries, the basics of life so that you can live, food, water, electricity,
Mm-hmm.
tax.
Yep. You get taxed, and then the people that own the store get taxed, and then the people that work in that store also get taxed.
Mm-hmm. And then if you're an employer, places have what is called a head tax.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have 10 employees, you have to pay a tax for each of those 10 employees, which to me seems like a disincentive to have employees.
Right.
So it's
And the employees also have to pay a tax.
so it's like, I know this is the work of 12 people, but we're only going to hire 10 because of the taxes.
Right.
So you're just going to have to work harder.
Right.
Right. So
Work harder, more hours, more taxes.
So when people think about like the tax bracket, oh, it's only 20%. That's only 1/5. Like it's only 1/5 of the actual income part, right?
Yeah.
There's 30% more hanging out there with everything else. So half of your money that you have in your life is going to the government in one form or another.
Yeah. And then if and when you can afford to buy a home, even if you buy outright 100% cash, you still have to pay taxes on the house.
The property tax, an annual property tax. It's like, I thought I paid for this. I thought I bought this already.
Right.
No. And I have a theory, and I think it just screws Gen Z up all over the place.
Okay.
All right.
What's your theory?
I think the income taxes that the government takes out of your check should go into an account that the employee, the person, gets an email notification to let you know how much money is in that account. All right.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, when you do your taxes, you don't actually get a refund, you get the leftovers. So you literally have to go to that account during this window of time.
Oh,
after you file, this account comes open, and you have to physically, hit a button and watch that money, the $14,000 sent somewhere else, and you get 386 to keep, right? Yeah. Then you get to see how much money is actually leaving.
Yeah, because when you get it in your paycheck, you see it, but you're like, it becomes out of mind, right?
You're numb.
But if every year you had this, you have 15, 20 grand in an account, and you just had to watch all of it go bye-bye.
Yeah.
And you're like, I got $2,000 left. You didn't get a refund. You're like, oh, I get my money back. I guess. Thanks.
You get to see that $14,000 just to, my time, I wanted it to be, you actually physically had to write a check to send that money,
Yeah. Everybody's on 1 week has to sell it to the government.
Because then it becomes painful. And I think that's when people will get to be more aware of what they're giving to the government, and then going, wait a minute, we're giving you guys too much. I can see it now.
Yeah.
We're sending $1.7 trillion to these other countries. That's my money, and we just don't see it.
Yeah. There's been quite a few politicians that have come in and they're like, oh, proponent for this, like, just flat income tax, and that's it. But that's the only tax. You don't pay sales tax and grocery tax and all these other taxes. You just pay the one flat fee.
I agree with that, but that only works for the feds, right? Because every state and county,
this state has their own taxes.
Right? So, and I agree with that, because then you can get rid of the IRS completely. If you do that, then that flat tax can be pretty low, because you're not paying for 187,000 IRS agents, IRS directors, and down to the, agents and the supporting staff for those agents.
My favorite part about all of those agents is that they don't have their own system, or not their own advertised system for filing your taxes. So you also, if you want to make sure that you don't have to fill in your information every time, have to pay $40 a year or whatever it is for TurboTax or H&R Block or some other bullshit, so that they will send that file to them.
Yeah, and it's like if it was a business, you get your car fixed, how much is it? Well, you're going to have to figure that out.
Yeah, you have to figure it out.
It was $12. Nope, now we're going to arrest you.
Yeah. There's a lot of TikToks of people that are like, oh, it's time to do our taxes. And like, what do I owe? And it's like, you have to figure it out. It's like, well, so do I just put whatever I want? Well, no, we know what you owe, but you have to figure it out. Oh, you messed it up? Sorry, jail.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Lots of ways for it to be skewed.
But here's the other part that bothers me. A tax return is supposed to be the amount of money that you get back because you've paid an excess amount in taxes.
Right.
If you paid $0 in taxes and you get $4,500 back because you have 3 kids, that is not a tax return. That is me paying you for your children.
Your 4 kids.
Yeah. Screw that. You should not get any money back if you don't pay any money. It's not a source of income. And if it is, then you should have to pay income taxes on that source of income. Because screw you.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's true.
So I think we're taxed to death. And people like to say, well, Norway, they have like a 60% tax rate. And when you get all this, you get free college or free, that's like, it's not really free because you're paying 60%. But that's like comparing freaking Delaware, to the United States. It's like, you got this one little thing, the population of 7 who can do things to support 7. We got 47 trillion people over here.
Yeah. There are a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the fun part is you also pay taxes when you go to school too. So there's
Exactly.
stuff and buy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Big
boy.
scam.
Yeah. Well,
So what's your favorite part of taxes?
I mean, I guess the return, but it makes you sad when you realize that like it was kind of just a free loan.
Do your friends realize how much you're paying in taxes?
I'm sure they do. Yeah. I know that like I look at every check that I get, and even though it may not change or fluctuate or whatever, I look at each one and like I look at how much taxes I pay, and it makes me sad every time.
Every 2 weeks I say this is bullshit.
Yeah, every time it makes me sad. And then what happens when we get close to the year and it shows you your year-to-date payment, and I look at it and I talk about it all the time with like my mom, and like our friends talk about it, and I'm like, this is bullshit. Paid like 20 grand this year.
Yeah. It is. What I have a difficult time reconciling with your generation and taxes is your generation wants all these government programs, but then they don't want to pay taxes. And it's like, if you want less taxes, you got to have smaller government.
Yeah, you have to have less programs and something that would help with that is we could probably have more or the same programs if we didn't give all our money away to everybody else.
I wonder what would happen if we just said, all right, for the next 4 years, we're not giving any money to any countries.
I don't see why we're the only ones that can't do that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, it's like, because even like the moderately successful European countries are paying less than what they're supposed to like NATO and the United Nations, and we're out there covering them, Like, why are we paying more than our agreed upon amount and they're paying less, but nobody's saying anything about it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that it's wrong when you're in a $30 trillion deficit to just, well, maybe we should stop, pause for a little.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, tighten up your belts. It's going to be a sucky 4 years.
And that's the thing is like, I think you kind of hit it on the head is that, I don't really want to get into the like whole government programs argument right now, but just the whole like, we are spending our money for everybody else. And I don't think people would argue as much for more government programs if the money was actually used to fund what we already currently have. But
Right.
It's not.
It's not.
We're just taking a deficit on all those programs. That's why when we have this whole conversation of government shutdown, all those programs, stop during that time period or are threatened to stop because we don't have the money to cover it.
Like, just the money we sent to Ukraine, we could have bought 80 houses for every homeless veteran. 80 houses for every homeless veteran.
Yeah,
money we sent to
my
Ukraine.
favorite part about the government shutdowns and all of that stuff when it starts to come up is nobody says, well, we'll stop sending money everywhere else first.
Right.
It's just the people of the United States that have to suffer, but everybody else still gets their money.
Yeah. Well, we're going to shut down these critical infrastructure things, but these superfluous stuff, we'll keep spending on that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like poverty mentality. People are like, I'm on government assistance, so I need to make sure I can have my cell phone and I can eat out and that kind of stuff. And then the government's supposed to pay for the actual, money for me to have rent, and all my basic life necessities need to be provided for by the government, so I can use the money that I do get on the fun stuff.
Yeah,
the frivolous.
I know. I guess kind of off topic, but like I know that there are a lot of other countries that do those types of things much better than we do. There's requirements for, how they're spending money, drug testing, like alcohol testing, things like that. We kind of just willy-nilly give it away.
Yeah. I kind of feel like our government kind of wants to keep people down, dependent on the government, so that they can be a big, powerful government.
Well, yeah, that's how they make money.
Yeah.
If we don't need them, then they don't get paid. So, and they don't get to continue to participate in bills and laws that benefit the stocks that they own, so that they can make more money.
I agree.
If they can't buy 1,000 shares of stock at a time with all their paychecks.
Yeah. You're a senator, you make $150,000 a year, and your net worth is $200 million. See, how'd that happen?
Yeah. So, there's
how that happened. If you stumbled upon us and you want it to happen more and more in your feeds to stumble upon us, you should like, comment, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell, all the good stuff.
Yeah. If you want to hear more of us, or if you don't, make sure you turn on the notifications so you don't click on anything. Don't do it by accident.
If you don't like our show for any reason, share it with the people that you don't like.
Yep. And you should comment and tell us if you don't like it.
Yeah. And tell us who you shared it to so that we can make fun of them with you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So speaking of those people that make all types of money in our government, there are two specific people that run every single 4 years and every single 4 years. And they get picked by other people.
Yes. Yeah. So the whole elections thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so
we're having one of those this year, right?
Yeah, we are, whether we like it or not. I think we as a society have completely failed on teaching civics.
Well, that's probably true.
Because there's been, more and more, get rid of the Electoral College, just go with the popular vote. And the people who are saying that, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and just say they're ignorant instead of stupid. They don't understand that if you go by strictly the popular vote, it's like two wolves and a sheep voting on once for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The sheep's going to lose. So it's not in the best interest of the sheep. So you and I could vote to kill our next door neighbor and then it'd be legal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's why we don't want the popular vote.
Right.
All right. We are not a democracy. We are a republic.
Mm-hmm.
And we are also called a representative democracy. And so that's why the Electoral College exists. States, based on population, gets electoral votes. And as the state votes, their electors, go, okay, our state selected this candidate.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes time to vote, then we're all going to vote for that select candidate because that's what our state chose. Some states you can split,
mm-hmm.
So they have their districts. And so one candidate can win this percent and the other can win the other percent. And you might have one candidate gets 4 electoral votes and the other one gets 2 for a total of 6. That's how it works so that all the states can be represented.
Right. So you basically have these designated people voting or supposed to be voting based off the popular vote in the state.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so you don't have like a California overruling the rest of the U.S. because they have the most people or whomever. California.
Right. Like, so you could just say if California voted for candidate A,
mm-hmm.
that means you got like 10 states that has a population, combined population less than California. So basically they're overridden by one state.
Right.
And so they're not represented very well because they're inconsequential.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we're creating laws for the nation, it's like, we don't care what you want because we just need the votes over here. And we're just only the states with the largest populations are going to get catered to.
Right.
And if you are upset about Texas and the border and them kind of disregarding the Biden administration and take care of the border themselves, and you think it's going to lead to a civil war, get rid of the Electoral College and tell, 30 states that they're inconsequential, and see how quickly you can get to a civil war. It's a fair system because it is based on population. So the more populated state, the more votes you're going to get. It's just not so much that it's going to override all the other states. And for the longest time, whoever won the most electoral votes also won the popular vote. It's just more in modern recent times that it's kind of flipped, where the last two Republican presidents won the Electoral College, but they didn't get the popular vote. And that's really what's kind of,
starting the rub on the popular vote thing.
Right.
But I think people forget that the two most populated places, like we just mentioned, are California and, New York, or those areas. And those areas are typically more liberal. And so that's where all the people live. That's where those popular votes are going to come from.
Right. And to break down, I like to think of it as like a neighborhood. Let's say there's 5 houses in your cul-de-sac, right? You have, in those 5 houses, one family has 10 people in it, 8 kids, a mother and a father. And then the other ones combined have only 8. Well, this one house, if you went by the popular vote and counting everybody in the house, they can make all the rules for the 4 other houses. So they would be able to say, all right, well, we're going to say that we're going to have an annual neighborhood picnic and we're going to run it, but all of you need to give us $1,000 a year for the picnic. And they would get it because they have 10 people.
Right.
10 versus 8, we win.
Right.
They get everything. And those 4 houses are going to feel like, this ain't right. We're underrepresented. We're 4 houses. We should get, it's 4 against 1,
right?
Not 10 against 8. And that's how the Electoral College really is.
Right. So you give the big house 4 and each of the others 2, and then that way 3 of the houses could outrule the 4, or however the math works out to make it even.
Yeah, 1 house, 1 vote.
Right.
Right. And then that's how it goes. But if you brought it out and have like a full neighborhood, and then maybe there's 5 cul-de-sacs, and then you start going by population, like there's 20 people here and 5 houses, so they'll get 4 votes. And good thing the keyboard's out over here.
He's sad.
He's sad. But it's to prevent tyranny.
Right.
So tyranny of the masses.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think that a lot of people will recognize that. And I don't think it's either not taught well enough, or it's like, oh, we told you that in 5th grade, and so now you don't remember because it's like 20 years later, and you weren't paying attention, and you're just picking your nose or whatever.
Right.
Going through puberty, so starting it, so you just weren't paying attention. But yeah, I mean, I think that's something that definitely people forget. I do know and want to point out, and we were talking about this earlier, that there are some states where there's no law or anything that says that the Electoral College has to vote based on their state. Right,
and that's true. And it's definitely a state to state thing. There's not a federal mandate that you have to, right? So the way it works is each party in their primaries, in their caucuses, they select their electors for the Electoral College, right? And then whichever party wins that state, they send their electors to pull the lever, right? So if the Democrats win California, I don't even know how many electors they have, but all of the electors will come from the Democrat Party,
right,
to vote for the Democrat candidate that won the popular vote. And if some of them decide not to vote for what the popular vote was and go and choose a Republican, they could, right? but lots of times the state has its own laws for it, so they could be fined for it.
Mm-hmm.
At a minimum, they're not going to be part of the Democratic Party anymore.
Yeah, it'll be their last vote. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's consequences
Right.
for doing it, and that's kind of what prevents it. Because I don't know of any cases.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any either. I know for sure that in some states it's possible, but I don't know if there's any like proven cases. If you guys know,
Right.
write it in. I don't know of any one that, because it'd be all over the news, right?
Yeah.
Some,
But it could be a big deal. Like if it's a very tight race and it comes down to like one swing state, like Ohio, and the Republicans won the popular vote in Ohio, but there's this renegade elector who just doesn't like Donald Trump. I'm not going to vote for him no matter what, and swings it the other way. It could flip the winner of the presidential race.
Right.
So that would be a very interesting time period for American politics.
Yeah.
I honestly think right now, like the Donald Trump trials is a very interesting time for American politics. So that would also be very intriguing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go through it.
Yeah.
But
it just caused more conflict, right? It would just be another source of strife between. It would come down to strife between us, normal people, and it wouldn't be any strife in the government. It would just be another reason for us to hate each other.
And then everybody who hates Trump would say, yeah, he had the right to do it, blah, blah, blah. And everybody who loves Trump was like, that's not what the state voted for. String him up, send him to an island, drown him, shoot him, feed him to the sharks.
Right.
So,
yeah. Interesting.
So that's the point of the Electoral College. Do you hate it?
No. I think that knowing that, it makes a lot more sense.
So the population is based on the census, right? And recently it was ruled that the census counts all people, not just citizens. All right.
Interesting.
And so now you have non-citizens who constitutionally can't vote, but they're counting it as the population for your electors. So in a kind of a sense, they're voting because greater population, more electors you have. And then you think about like the open borders and the population growth because of it. I mean, the number of people who have come into this country in the last 3 years is higher than like 7 states.
How do they get that count?
They get processed and released into the United States.
Okay.
So Homeland Security brings them in, fills out the paperwork, tells them, hey, your court date's in 7 years if you want to show up, and they let them free. And then they don't track them. So that's how they get that count.
Gotcha. I was just curious because like I'd always seen that, but I was like, if it's fully open and no one's there at all, then I don't see how they get their count. But
it's not going to be an accurate count because there's definitely people coming across that aren't accosted by Homeland Security or anything. So, but then with the census going door to door, and it's a federal offense if you don't, complete your census form and that type of thing. By counting people in the country who aren't citizens or not here legally, it inflates the population of the voting public.
I don't know if I've ever filled out a census. I don't ever remember one coming to the door.
Yeah, so lots of times they'll come in the mail, and it's done every 10 years.
Oh. Okay.
So you might be due, because you might have been just underage when it came out last time. I don't know. Or you moved or whatever.
Because I'm trying to think about like if I've ever gotten anything like that that's like come to the door or whatever.
I think they're going away from that with, I think with COVID for one. I think they might have had the census during COVID.
I guess the reason I asked is because just being honest, like when I look at my mail, if it's not something I recognize, it goes in the garbage because I get so much garbage in my mail. So I wouldn't be surprised if I looked at it and went, just being straightforward. So if you guys get something from the federal government that says like census or whatever the hell it's supposed to say,
just open everything from the federal government. You never know what it's going to be. At a minimum, it's going to be humorous. At a maximum, it's going to be very angering.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder how many times I've thrown a census away. Well, you said it's only every 10 years, so I don't know. I honestly don't remember.
Be interesting.
Yeah.
But that's how they make their create their districts and precincts and that kind of stuff.
No, that
the
makes
whole
sense.
Gerrymandering.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I'm just curious how many people throw it away.
I bet a lot.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot. I'm just thinking about all the people that would just like look at it and do exactly what
I do remember people coming to my door, knocking on the door, saying, "Hi, my name is Sally. I'm with the U.S. Census Bureau. I am here to ask you some questions. Do you have time to answer those questions right now? If not, what time are you available that I can put down on my schedule?"
Yeah. Interesting.
I'll just contact the Census Bureau and give them your contact info.
No, that's okay. So why not just go by like a social security number?
Because a lot of people don't have social security numbers.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you don't register that you're a citizen or that you were born, I guess you don't.
Right.
Which is interesting because I don't. Do they cost anything?
No, they don't cost anything. But if let's say you came into this country illegally and you're trying to get situated and you're worried about, I'm just looking for a better life. And if I do something, they're going to get me and send me away.
No, yeah, I got that. I guess what I'm thinking is like, I feel like solving this problem of having to send mail out and do account. And then also the whole like citizen versus not citizen thing. If you have a social security number, you count. And if you don't, then you don't. And I feel like that's an automated count that everybody that's born in a hospital, you get your social security. And
I have to look it up, but I think you can get a social security number as a legal alien, but not a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you want to include legal aliens?
Oh, I feel like it's better than what we're doing now.
I agree.
I'm just trying to think of a way to like, I know this is like completely off topic and we've like gone down the rabbit hole. I'm just thinking about like, how do you eliminate all the extra work and just count something that you're literally already doing? I don't know. I'm just like spinning my wheels. Like, how do you avoid people like how many people they're saying, if it's accurate or not and all that stuff? And I'm like, well, just, I don't know.
Well, you go to a flat tax and turn all those IRS agents into census collectors.
Yeah, census collectors. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so you have like the 140,000 people or whatever just running around collecting numbers all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I don't think your generation understands the Electoral College, and I kind of think they don't care. And they just want the popular vote because it's easy.
Yeah.
It's the easy button.
I don't know if it's a not caring thing. I definitely think the knowledge is a big part of it, like knowing why it was there in the first place and what it's for. Because just being straightforward, like you and I talked about this earlier when we were talking about what we were going to talk about, and I didn't know that's how they like figured out the Electoral College numbers. And after explaining it, it makes sense. And I wouldn't say I would before removing it now, like knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that like is probably a big part of it. I'm just curious if it's like one of those things where it's just not being taught, because I would say that I was probably taught at some point what it was and what it's for and how it all works, but I don't remember. I think this goes back to kind of some of those things we've talked about before.
Do you remember taking a civics class?
I took it was like a U.S. history and civics, so it was kind of
Combined?
mixed together. Yeah.
So it was like 90% U.S. history, 10%.
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%. That's what it was. I mean, most of it was U.S. history, and then you had some things like, we've got presidents and these branches and all of those good things.
So Vivek Ramaswamy presented an idea that I agree with. And he said that in school, in order to graduate, you should have to pass the same test that immigrants have to pass to become a citizen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And civics is part of that.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to, I think they need to teach the Constitution again,
Mm-hmm.
your Bill of Rights, the amendments, that kind of stuff. And you have to pass that part of the class in order to graduate. Like for me in Washington State, if I did not pass Washington State history, I could not graduate as a senior. It was a requirement.
Mm-hmm.
I can get all A's and fail that one class, and the only class in the history of school that I don't pass, and I would not be able to graduate till I pass that one class.
Mm-hmm.
That's how mandated it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I kind of feel like civics, as an American citizen, you should know what your rights are.
Yeah. You should know what your rights are. You should know how your country operates, at least at a basic level.
Right.
You should know what your rights are when it comes to voting and things like that.
Give some examples of when the country really screwed people over on their rights.
Yeah.
And give examples of how people protested in order to gain rights.
Yeah.
It's all part of the same game.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that that's probably an important thing that people should know and do.
Probably more important than Harry Potter.
Well, that's probably true. But I don't really remember learning about him in school either, so.
But you can in college.
Maybe I just didn't go to school. Maybe it was all a lie. I don't remember.
Or maybe you went to real school and they got rid of those.
Maybe. I don't think it was like anybody had gotten rid of it. I just think it wasn't as emphasized. I will definitely say now, and my mom talks about this a lot, and my sister, they're both still very actively involved in the school system. The shift has definitely gone away from history, arts, music, all of those things, and shifted to very heavily focused in math and science.
That's good because we got away from it for a long time.
Right, which is great, but part of those things they're shifting out is like history and civics and things like that, because they kind of include it in this like the liberal arts and things like that. And so that might be part of a problem.
Yeah. We're a very wasteful country. I mean, we spend more per student than pretty much any country in the world, and we get
the least out of it.
Yeah, we get the least bang for our buck.
Yep.
Out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I just threw away water that I didn't like because it tasted funny. So,
But I think we need to get back to our foundations and have room for electives. The music, PE, library.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to do English lit? That's fine. Make that an elective.
Yeah. For sure. Well,
anyway, way off topic by then.
It's sort of. The Electoral College, I think we probably don't want all of these other states that have a higher populace to make every decision.
Right. And if honestly, you think about it, and maybe this is what frustrates people, the swing states, the typical swing states are like Ohio and Pennsylvania and Florida, but not right now. Florida's pretty solid Republican. Those swing states have become important because they matter to the election.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have the Electoral College, Ohio would not matter at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Ohio would definitely not matter in that equation.
So it's, makes things important and people pay attention.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Pay attention.
Pay attention.
Can't afford attention. Ask your boss for a raise so you can pay attention.
It'll be taxed.
Yeah, it'll be taxed though at 32%.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Thank you guys for watching.
Peace be the journey.